what happened in the past tells us a more in-depth story about what's happening now and what might happen in the future. Here's one of the objects from the 1600s.
So I did imaging and I discovered a signature. And once we saw that, I thought, my goodness. That makes me very pleased. And it would be the rediscovery of a painting that people thought was lost.
We really talk with our experts about whether it's $5, $50, or $50,000. Our owners want the same kind of consideration given to them. They're family things, they're things they care about.
Stilts have been a part of this industry for a long time.
Western Colorado growers for years have used a unique stilt walking method.
Now we're going back to stilts.
I like to see people laugh. I can show you machines that will make you laugh. Twist.
I think it's really interesting to connect the past to the present. Everything that's happening now is obviously influenced by things that happened in the past.
Welcome to Colorado Voices, Timeless Treasures. I'm Andrea Kramer, and I'll be your guide as we explore the world of antiques and relics across the state of Colorado. Join us as we meet dedicated collectors and learn the stories behind their collections, visit the vast archives at History Colorado, and uncover the rich heritage that makes Colorado's past come alive. I'm at the Antiques Roadshow, which is filming here in Littleton at Chatfield Farms. Thousands of people have trekked from far and wide across the state to learn more about their unique treasures and family heirlooms. We take you behind the scenes for a look at what it takes to put on this world-renowned production and share some of the extraordinary finds in Colorado's own backyard.
Here's the thing about doing a road show. Every show we learn something. Even after all these years, as we sit here in season 29, every show we learn something and we learn how to do it better. We never stop learning because 3,000 people will never stop to surprise you. What they need, what they want. We're always working on making it right.
One of the things you wouldn't know about roadshow is the large number of guests, the wonderful crew behind the lens, the organizational skills that go into making roadshows so successful. I like to say that roadshow has a middle name, which is preparation. Our crew is so well prepared that whenever we hit the inevitable snag, they're ready for it.
So I was one of the people who came out to Chatfield Farms last January to look at Denver Botanical Garden, Chatfield Farms, for a potential location. One of the things that we look for when we're looking for new venues is, like, logistically, is it big enough for us to be there? So we have a huge set with a lot of crew, appraisers, volunteers, and of course the 3,000 or more guests that come to the event. So we need somewhere that's really expansive, that's also got a beautiful backdrop, a lot of history, something we could talk about, you know, is it like culturally significant to the area, historically significant, and Chatfield Farms kind of checked all those boxes for us. We come in, we have one day to set up for the event on the next day. So there's a lot of people and moving parts, and we're putting up tents, and we're setting up our television sets, and we're setting out tables for the appraisers and Wi-Fi, and we have security and EMTs and catering and tenting. And so there's a lot of logistics that go into that very short period that we have to set up. And then once it's event day, we're just appraising and recording, so we want everything to be fully set the day before.
The interest is going to be, people really enjoy just looking at what things cost. I mean, for me, it's like, okay, a malted milk was 15 cents. Steaks, a plain steak was 35 cents.
I know.
It's amazing. So that's the interest, but the value is probably in like the $10, kind of more out of just interest and kind of curiosity.
People are coming tomorrow with the two most precious things they own. Here's the secret. Most of it's not worth much money. Most of us don't own things that are worth a lot of money, but they are precious to them. And so we really talk with our experts about whether it's $5, $50, or $50,000. Our owners want the same kind of consideration given to them. They're family things. They're things they care about.
Okay, this is older than you are.
Yeah.
This is older than this. It's very old.
Tell me about it. What do you know?
So we kind of help the appraisers figure out like how to narrow down the story so that it fits really nicely into a 3 to 5 minute segment. And then we kind of walk through like what are the most talking points about it we want to hit. And then it's just really kind of, they're winging it as soon as they get out there. It's really reality.
There's this delicious mix of people's specialties, and getting that right is truly satisfying, a lot of fun. It's part of what you see on Roadshow. We don't just have people show up who can look things up online. They're experts, they're immersed, truly immersed in their subjects, and they spend a lot of time studying. A lot of them are generational, and most of them, they live and breathe the material that they deal in.
We see good stuff everywhere because people keep it and they move around. But we will see regional items. I'm not sure what we'll see here in Colorado. Colorado pottery, native items. There's a lot of ranching and other things like that out here. Will we see those kinds of things? Maybe. Maybe.
The questions we're asked a lot is how come Antiques Roadshow has survived so long? We're entering our 29th year of production. I like to say that the reason is because we're telling stories about people that everybody can relate to, that the show is about American identity, how people got here and how the people who were here have created arts, created items, created stories for us to tell.
Some antiques aren't exactly what you'd expect. One man in Eaton has been collecting washing machines for nearly 40 years, even though he's only done one load of laundry his entire life.
People often ask me, why wash machine? Well, being retired and needed a hobby, I looked around. I like to fish, but not full time. I don't play golf, and I detest bungee jumping, so I picked wash machines for no good reason. It wasn't just a big bang. Suddenly there was a wash machine. It was an evolutionary process. People first started washing with their hands and then their feet. The earliest wash machine I have in my collection was patented in 1844. In 1985, we bought a motor home and we headed towards Maine for just a retirement trip. Halfway into Iowa, we stopped for lunch what turned out to be a farm auction. I raised my hand, bought my first wash machine. On that first trip to Maine, we got home with 13 wash machines. Well, I had them in my garage to start with, and then I outgrew that, and then I put them in the barn here. Around 1995, I had to build another building. We currently have about 1,700 antique wash machines. It's an insane hobby. Never done any advertising about giving tours, but it has become so popular. About 15 years ago, I had to start charging. Not that I want to do that, but I want them to be serious about wanting to see the museum. See, if you had a big party, you can make a lot of martinis in that thing. My tours, I like to make people glad that they were here, and I purposely designed tours, or did design tours. It's not all just academic history, which is very exciting to me, but it may not be to the general museum goer. So I like to make it fun. I like to see people laugh. I can show you machines that will make you laugh. I can show you some very interesting history. Twist. I decided about 6 years ago that there's a lot of wash machines that have been patented since the late 1700s that I've been unable to find and probably just aren't available. But I took up learning woodworking, and I build what I call patent demos. But see, you put your clothes in that container, drive on rough roads, and it washes your clothes. So I've built this just from that diagram. I'm currently building this machine. It's an old wash machine. In my museum, I'm running out of space. I'm in a position now, I would give the entire thing away, give it away, if I could find a proper home for it. My constant companion over the years, Barbara, we've had just a wonderful time. We've hunted for wash machines in France, Germany, England, Australia, and so on. And we've had just a marvelous time traveling the whole world. Barbara has been with me every step of the way. She instructed me to do a load of clothes. I failed to sort them, and my shirts come out pink, my white shirts. And she has not let me do a load of clothes since that time. That was 70 years ago.
In eastern Colorado, in the town of Lamar, one family's collection has been withstanding the winds of time. This powerhouse ranching family has one of the largest private windmill collections in the United States, numbering 45.
Pretty much their only function was to pump water for the railroads. What they do is take a circular motion and give you a direct stroke to pump water. So when you go downtown to the Welcome Center and you see the windmill next to the locomotive, this would be that windmill's big brother.
This was the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad right here, and he wanted to put a display up showing that that's how the steam engines got their water. And we got another one across the street over there.
Well, in this picture, there was the old homestead and this 10-foot diameter Eclipse windmill pumping water into a 50-gallon oak barrel there. I thought, gee, it'd be nice to restore that thing and put it back to where it was.
We couldn't find that windmill itself, but we found one that was the same off of a different ranch, and we restored that and installed it there, probably in 1980. And that house still sits today, and that windmill's still over there. You kind of found out there were this kind of mill and there were that kind of mill, and that was the start of it. This one, it's basically kind of credited with the first self-governing American windmill, right? That was the key, self-governing, because you're out in the elements in the wind. You want something to be able to control itself without spinning out of control, and to start back up by itself without having to climb the tower. So your modern day windmill is what we call a solid wheel. They're pretty sturdy. They were designed to withstand the wind. As the wind increased, it would close it up and protect itself. So when the wind gets stronger, closes up, takes itself out of the wind dies down, comes back. So that's kind of, if you see a windmill today, that's how it works. The tail, the vane, is fixed so it doesn't close up and become parallel with the tail. See those blades shift? That's the way your modern turbine works.
We probably restored about 125 to 140 windmills all together.
We've probably got 70 mills scattered across the United States, from Lubbock, Texas to Batavia, Illinois, into Nebraska, Colorado, South Carolina.
That's a 30-gallon commercial butter churn.
We've gone more to pipeline and submergible wells, but back in the day we operated 15 functioning pumping windmills on the ranch, pumping water for cows. And now that number's down to like 8 or 10.
There's beautiful people that you meet in this windmill world.
It's a good group of people. They're here to help one another. They'll loan you parts, they'll give you patterns, they'll do whatever they can to help you out. I think they just love it's just different. It's unique from a lot of things.
So all in all, these antique windmills have treated me pretty good.
Without taking a road trip around the state, there's one place where you can see the largest collection of Colorado's history. In Denver, the archives at History Colorado house thousands of records tucked away into the shelves.
We collect and preserve the history of Colorado and the West. We try to cover all over the state. We've got some very contemporary stuff as well as historical material. And it kind of spans, 1600s to the present. In the archival collection, we have about 1.5 miles of manuscript materials, and then we have about 35,000 books. We have the largest collection of Colorado newspapers on microfilm. We also have about 4,000 maps. Here's one of the objects from the 1600s. So this is a 1610 map of Mexico. We also have about 1 million photos in our collection. That's literally, we have about 1 million photos. We're still trying to get our hands around what exactly it is that we have. 52, 83. Part of what I do is I take care of all of that paper-based stuff. So books, manuscripts, maps, magazines, and newspapers. And we try to document the history of Colorado so researchers can come and look at it. Here we go, we're putting it on the shelf. Archives are open to anybody. We're trying to scan a lot to get it online, but of course, not everything's online. I would say less than 10% of the archival material is actually online. So the way that people can most easily interact with the collection is by coming to the Research Center. If you want to look at anything, almost anything in our collection, as long as it'll fit in this room, we'll bring it over. We're the oldest history organization in the state. So we've got histories of almost every town in Colorado, if there's been a published history of it. We started collecting in 1879. The museum was like a place where you could come and think about the past and not have to be in your day-to-day life. And I still think that's true. Whether people are trying to connect with their ancestors who lived in Colorado, and we might have a city directory or a phone book or a yearbook connecting them to their, grandparents, great-grandparents, or if they're trying to figure out why is Colorado the way it is. We've got materials that can help people understand the story of the state. Zebulon Pike, this is the book that he wrote talking about what he found. So I think it's really interesting to connect the past to the present. Everything that's happening now is obviously influenced by things that happened in the past. I like to show this map. Knowing what happened in the past tells us a more in-depth story about what's happening now and what might happen in the future.
Perhaps no place in Colorado better combines the past with the present than in Palisade. For more than 140 years, farmers have been using this special spot and some interesting tools to grow peaches.
Stilts have been a part of this industry for a long time.
Most of the 20th century had stilts, primarily to prune peaches. In the early part of the 20th century, we see that the trees were tall. They were 14 feet tall. And the ladders to get up to them, we have pictures of 20-foot ladders. I mean, they're A-shaped ladders. And then shortly after that, the stilts showed up.
Western Colorado growers for years have used a unique stilt walking method.
You would get a ladder and you'd go to the top of a roof of the packing shed and you'd put the stilts on and then stand up and then walk in the orchard. But you could thin and prune much faster than with a ladder. Palisade Lions Club was promoting Colorado peaches, and so they put on stilts. This picture is 1958, and they're in Chicago.
When I grew up, there's a lot of people still walking stilts. I was never real proficient at it, I'll be honest. My father did some, and he always said it was about as cold a thing as you could do, because you're not moving enough. There's a picture of, I think, 5 gentlemen getting on their stilts. It would have been at the house that I grew up in.
It's incredibly dangerous to fall, and you're walking on rough soil. They effectively figured out that with the new kinds of trees, that they don't need to be as tall.
Now we're going back to stilts, but the stilts today they're drywall stilts, and they're better stilts. They're easier to walk. You don't have to be as skilled, and we do have shorter trees. The stilts have given us an efficiency that has been very helpful.
When it comes to the world of art conservation, saving the past is a meticulous and delicate process. At the Western Center for the Conservation of Fine Arts in Denver, the work combines science, art, history, and a little bit of mystery solving.
Paintings are not as durable as people would like to think. The materials, no matter what, deteriorate, just like humans deteriorate, plants.
So I'm taking grime off of this, and then this is going to have some structural treatment because it's got some badly raised cracks.
A typical painting has already had several restorations that may not, and usually weren't, done by skilled conservators because they were done in the past. Anyone can fix a painting. The difference is that conservators do it with the materials and stability and overall holistic preservation in mind, based on scientific research. It's very hard to become a conservator.
You see tiny little white, not white, but light spots.
There are 3 conservation of fine art graduate programs in the United States, and they each only take 10 students a year. So there are 30 graduated conservators in the United States per year. The most important thing is to understand how paintings are made, which then can tell us why they deteriorated the way that they did. It's like medicine. Well, the first thing you learn is what the human body is, what it's made of, and how it works as a system. Then you can begin to diagnose the problems. It's the same thing with art.
These are some images of paintings that we've worked on in the past. For example, here is a Jackson Pollock painting that we treated in 2022, and it actually recently just came back for treatment. Here's the box that Pollock came in.
One of the most important tenets of conservation is that anything we do to a painting is reversible.
I'm using a citric acid solution. We use citric acid a lot in cleaning.
We never ever add conservation painting materials over the original paint layer.
We paint just in tiny dots because we don't want to ever go over original paint if we can avoid that.
We can do wonders for paintings. Paintings can look absolutely terrible and without hope when they come in, and they leave looking beautiful with clients overwhelmed with emotion of seeing this family painting again, looking gorgeous and something that they can be proud of for years to come. Most of the time when people bring me paintings to do forensic research on, it is because they want to know who painted the painting, and because they want to sell a painting. So the painting is the deposition of Christ, which is when they took Jesus's body off the cross and put him in the cave. So I did imaging, and I discovered a signature, a large signature that very clearly says Giuseppe di Ribera, 1640 something. And once we saw that, I thought, my goodness, I think that this painting really could be by Ribera. A lot of the things that I'm seeing so far are right. It's the right scale, it is the right imagery, but I want to know what colorants are used. And so that is the outstanding question, is exactly what pigments are used.
The red flashing light means that X-rays are coming out.
Using XRF, which is X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy, I can analyze a painting without taking any sample.
We're going to focus on her veil, because her veil is where I'm hoping we can find discolored smalt.
That can give me a very overall preliminary idea of whether that painting could be from the proper period that we're imagining that the painting could be.
Oh, we have some cobalt. Okay, this is looking good for smalt. That makes me very pleased.
If the provenance is correct, the provenance still has some verification to go through. Provenance is a written history of who owned the painting when. If the provenance is correct, this painting is one that had been known from Ribera's oeuvre for centuries and then has sort of been lost for decades. And it would be the rediscovery of a painting that people thought was lost. If a museum or collector of this type of work were to buy the painting through an auction house, it would go for millions.